We just revealed 11 of the 12 markets our league. We rise one step closer to an April 2026 kickoff. Today, Arena football legend Randy Gatewood joins Braden Dobson to discuss the teams in the league.
Welcome, everybody. We're so glad to have you on our live. I'm Braden. This is Randy, and we're here to discuss the teams that have been announced and for it. So, Randy? Did you happen to catch the live stream where we announced all the team names?
I did. I was able to see, that whole thing, man. And wow, like, I kind of wish, like, back when we played, they had all these international games, just the travel and everything involved in it. So I thought it was really cool. But yeah, let's dive into it.
Yeah, for sure. I really think it's an awesome concept to have European teams. How do you think travel is going to affect the players back and forth?
I think as long as they, give themselves plenty of time to get there, maybe a day or two earlier and get acclimated and those type of things, I don't think it's going to be, that big of a deal. You're talking, a 2.5, 3 hour window where that game's taking place. So, for some of that travel, depending how far it is, they've got to get in at least a day or two, early so that the players have a chance to kind of, rest up, get ready, prepare for the time change and stuff like that. But I don't think it's going to affect them that much. I think it's awesome, the fact that someone gets to travel, to Europe and all of these places and stuff like that to play football. So I don't foresee it being a big issue.
Well, that's good. That's good. I kind of agree. I think that traveling back and forth, it'll be a great opportunity for the players to see the entire world and see different fans and how those fans are in different markets. So I definitely think it's a positive thing. Do you have a favorite team design so far? Do you have a favorite team that you're going for?
Man, I couldn't. You guys posted one earlier. Zurich. Zurich has that logo, and everything from Zurich is really cool.
I like it too. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, that's the one that stood out the most so far. But I think a lot of the other logos and all the graphics and stuff like that is really cool. But Zurich, yeah, that one, to me, that one stood out the most. And it's real subtle with a lot of red, with just some subtle hits of white and black. But I thought, to me, that was the one that stood out the most. But all of the logos, everything that you guys did to put that together looks really cool.
Yeah, I think Zurich is definitely one of my favorites too. I love the color scheme as well as the logo itself. And of course I like the grade eights. I'm from Utah, born and bred, so I really like the grade eights and with the mountains in the background, and it also shows the Great Salt Lake. So I think that's a really cool design in itself.
Yeah. And I even like, me here in Arizona, I thought the Arizona one was pretty cool too. I thought that one was really cool, just based on, like I said, the graphics. And I never thought it would be the Juggernauts, but it fits, like it works, So I think they did a really good job of when they came up with these logos and with these names of how everything flows. Sometimes, like a team and a logo, it just doesn't quite fit right, but I really think they really did a good job of picking the names, and then so that it has some kind of flow with it as well. So Arizona Juggernauts, Zurich, but that logo from Zurich is what stood out the most for me. But I think they did a really good job, like I said, of picking, names in an area that flows with the team. And just look at that logo. Like, that logo is really cool, So whoever did the graphics and whoever came up with the design and logos and everything like that, a big round of applause to them, because I think it all looks great.
Oh yeah. The graphic designer did an amazing job, and I especially like the Las Vegas Rockers uh, logo. It looks amazing, and
Can
I
you
know
put
you.
that one up? I don't remember seeing that one because it was kind of, when I watched the live one, it was
Yeah, it's
flat.
been out for a while now, but I
Okay.
like the design of it and the colors of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll try and throw
And
that up on the screen.
Vegas has to be, Vegas, because it's Vegas, and I went to college at UNLV, so Vegas has to be, everything about Vegas has to be great. You know, so that
Yeah.
logo's got to be great. The color's got to be great. Everything's got to be great about Vegas. So, but no, man, I think they did a really good job, like I said, of kind of taking a little bit of probably history from those specific places and kind of implementing that in the logo too. You know, so I thought it was really cool, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I wanted to ask a little bit about your career too and get to know you a little bit better. What was your experience playing indoors like versus the differences of the outdoor game? Because I know you went to college at UNLV and then you played arena football for the Rattlers for many years. And so what was the big differences?
You know, I think, you know, for me, I was able to make that transition pretty easy just because I came up through high school and playing a lot of, you know, defense as well. Back then, that league, you know, we had to play both ways. You had to play offense and defense and special teams and all that. So I made the transition probably a little bit easier just because I had a history of playing defensive back, cornerback, safety as well. So when I got to the Rattlers, it really wasn't that big of a deal for me. I just had to go back to that side of the ball and kind of learn the technique again. And then I took all those years of playing offense, and it gave me, I like to think it gave me a little bit of an edge of kind of knowing when I'm playing defense what these wide receivers are doing and kind of what they're doing to set me up, how they're trying to get open, how they're trying to stem me. Okay, I know he's coming back out. You know, so I took a lot of what I knew from the wide receiver position that I played all my life, and I translated that over onto the defensive side. And I like to think it gave me a little bit of an advantage of really having an understanding of what this receiver is trying to do to me defensively, you know. And, you know, the biggest thing probably from the outdoor game was just coming inside on a smaller field, and then things are happening a lot more quicker, you know, even from, you know, in the outdoor game, when you think of three-step drop, you know, things really still don't happen as fast as it happens in the Arena Football League, you know. But most of it was just the fact that, like I said, things are happening a lot quicker. And then, you know, I kind of talked about it in the first segment I did with Dan and Corinne, how, you know, you'll kick off, play defense, go on kickoff return, play offense, kick off again, do that 2 or 3 times, you know, and look up and the score is, you know, 21-14, and there's still 12 minutes left in the first quarter.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So like it was fast paced, but it was awesome, man. And honestly, if I go back to at the beginning of my arena football career, I was slated to go to the World League, which I think some of this was inspired by the NFL Europe and World League. I was slotted to go over there and play. And when I was actually headed to Scotland, to Scottish Claymores, and they talked about that earlier. Yeah, they talked about that earlier, but it didn't work out. And so I ended up, you know, coming back to, well, I guess not to the States, because training camp was in Atlanta at that time for the World League. But that didn't work out, and I came back to Vegas, and a week later, the Arena Football League was starting. And so, I mean, I dove right in, man, and kind of hit the ground running. And I was fortunate enough to play with a lot of really good players on our team too, offensively and defensively. So it was awesome to learn from those guys. And then, of course, we had the great Danny White as our head coach for 10 of my 12 years, who was an offensive guru, you know. So, like, for us, that was really big, having somebody like that who could really, really put together and create matchups and dictate. I like to tell people, like, the defense didn't dictate what we were doing. We would dictate what the defense would have to do. If you're going to play, you have to play 1 or 2 coverages against us, or it's just not going to work. And we were constantly in attack mode, you know, for a lot of years playing, you know, arena football under Danny. And so that was probably the biggest difference. It was, like I said, things just happened a lot quicker, and then you had to go out and play, you know, defense as well as offense too.
Exactly. And Danny White, he's a legend. He later came back as a coach and coached the Utah Blaze, and I'm from Utah. And so when I grew up going to to Blaze games, and he was their head coach for a while.
Oh
So
yeah.
I definitely am familiar with Danny. I watched a lot of his highlights on YouTube that were posted, and yeah, he's amazing. So it's really cool that you got the experience of playing with one of the best quarterbacks in Arena Football League history. So it's really cool. Did you expect to play 11 years in Arena football, or?
No, man, I did it, man. Like I said, and in the beginning, I had no desire to play arena football. I wanted to go to NFL Europe. I wanted to get back to the NFL, and things sort of changed for me when I got to Arizona. A year after that, I got married. A year or so and a half after that, started having kids and family and all those things. So like for me, the whole scenario sort of changed when it came to, getting back to the NFL. I didn't want to just go to training camp to go to training camp. If I was going to go to training camp, I wanted a legit opportunity, for me to go out and make those teams. And I was happy here in Arizona. I lived here. I could wake up to my kids every day. It was just, there was a lot of things that worked out, and it was the right fit for me at the time. But I never thought it would be, actually you said 11, it was actually 12, man. And I look back on that run, it was just, and honestly, Braden, I probably could have played another 5 years, probably easy, because a year or two after I retired, they went to free substitution. So you didn't have to play both ways. I could have played wide receiver only for another 4 or 5 years, and I was fortunate enough and blessed enough to play that game a long time. And I was 1 year removed from Ironman of the Year when I retired from the Arena Football League, but it was one of those things where I was transitioning into another period of my life where I wanted to be a businessman and an entrepreneur and all these things. And so at the time too, a lot of my guys were gone. The Cedric Bonners were gone, the Hunky Coopers were gone, the Bo Kellys were gone, the Mark Tuckers were gone, the Cecil Doggettes were gone.
Right.
A lot of those guys who I played with, I was kind of the last man standing going into a new regime, which is sort of like the guys in the Arena League with, Kevin Guy and all those guys who are there now. And so when I walked away, it was the perfect segue into what I planned to do. And what I had planned to do was to be an entrepreneur / businessman, / all these other goals and things that I had, but nothing but love. And it was just amazing. Like I said, I would have loved to have played in this league though, too, with just the travel. The travel alone would have enticed me alone, to play in this league. But I think it's a great opportunity for guys to stay active, to get some work in, especially for those guys who do have aspirations to go back to the NFL or, to the CFL or anything like that. They could use this league as a platform, and hopefully that's what this sort of turns into is a platform or like not necessarily a minor league, but just a way for these guys to get back and have a segue back to the NFL.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that makes IAL special is that we have that component of both European teams and teams that are stateside, and that gives players the opportunity to see what fans are like overseas versus what fans are like here, and it gives them just more experience overall. Is there any advice you would have to any young players that are going to be playing in the IAL?
If I was going to give any advice to those guys, I would say to just make sure that if you're predominantly an offensive guy, okay, coming into the league, and I hope, and I don't think it's been established yet, I don't know if it's going to be full two-way where, 6 of the 8 guys who played in our league had to play both ways. But if I was going to give any advice to those guys is the more the faster you go, and football can be very complicated when it comes to schemes and play calling and formations and all those things. Okay. Don't just focus on your position. If you're a wide receiver, know all the wide receiver positions. If you're a defensive back, know all the defensive back positions. If you're a lineman, know all the lineman positions, okay? Because you never know when something happens or injuries or anything, and you have to transition, or you could be that wild card that you could play anywhere. And teams can't focus on you, knowing that, guess what? He's always going to be on the left side, or he's always going to be on the weak side. Well, this guy's always going to be on the right side. We were really good at that, and I was fortunate enough to where I knew every position. Coach White could move me around anywhere he wanted to move me. From the time, even my rookie year when I got there, I had coaches in college that really instilled that in us. And they would always say, the more you know, the faster you go. And then you're not always out there thinking either, because like I said, it can get really complicated when it comes to schemes and knowing what to do. And then defenses are disguising coverages, doing those things. So if you're prepared and you understand that, it's going to make the game so much more easier for you.
Right. What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced playing both sides of the ball?
I really, and not to sound like, arrogant or anything about it, but I really didn't face any challenges, like I said, because for me to go back to playing defensive back, coming out of high school, I grew up in Texas, and in Texas, a lot of us played both sides of the ball. And I had a chance to go play college football as a defensive back or a wide receiver. I was being recruited on both sides. And I remember, like, in high school, I would have guys who would come in to recruit me as a defensive back, and I didn't want to play defensive back, But looking back on all of that time, when I got to the Arena League, I didn't face those challenges of having to play defense with no experience defensively, or having to play offense with no offense experience, And so, but I think that's probably going to be the most challenging thing for guys coming in, is if this league is going to require a certain amount of players to play both sides of the ball, and you have no experience on defense, you played offense all your career, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. And that's where the athleticism in certain players and athleticism in guys has to come out, because they're capable of doing it. It's just they don't have the experience. I played alongside a few guys who were predominantly, defensive guys who transitioned over to offensive guys who were really good offensively because they were athletic, they were fast, they were shifty. They could change directions as a defensive player. And so it translated over offensively easy for those guys to do it. But for me, I can't really say that I really faced any challenges, because I felt like I was prepared in what they were asking of me and going over and playing defense. And that's why I was fortunate enough to, win some Ironman of the Year awards and be on the all defensive team and, all those things, when predominantly I was really an offensive player in college and in high school.
We got a chat from, looks like Scott Riordan, Randy Gatewood, the legend and friend. Now he has the best truck stop best food truck in Arizona. I'm gonna have to try your food truck one of these days. I'll have to make a trip down to Arizona for it, my friend.
Oh man, you gotta come out and check it out, man. It's been really cool, because that like I said earlier when I spoke about being an entrepreneur and being a local businessman and all those kind of things, that's part of the journey we did. Was I launched a food truck about 4.5 years ago, and it's kind of taken Arizona, by storm. We do burgers, we do tacos, we do brunch, we do a lot of things. And my goal is to open the first brick and mortar restaurant probably midway through 2026, with the hope of becoming a national brand. So Utah is on my list of cities.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Utah's on my list of cities immediately. We're gonna franchise. We're gonna do a lot of things. I have some extremely huge goals when it comes to Randizzles, the food truck, and all of them are attainable. That's the beauty of it, is they're all attainable. So, like I said, stay tuned. Utah is definitely on the list. We're gonna definitely invade Utah once we start to expand, and then we're gonna go up, the Pacific Northwest, all the way back down to California, Nevada, all those places as well.
Yeah. I bet if you set up a spot right next to Maverick Arena where the grade eights are going to play, I bet you that would be a prime spot. You know,
Oh, it'd be a
you'd do well.
prime
You'd do
location.
very well. So another question I have for you is, do you have a favorite moment from your career or one that really sticks out to you?
Yeah, I probably have a few of them, but the main one, the one that probably sticks out the most would be my second season in the Arena Football League when I caught the winning touchdown in the semifinals to send us to the championship game, because we were playing against Tampa at the time, and Tampa was like the juggernaut. You know, they were the Kansas City Chiefs, the New England Patriots of the Arena Football League at that time. And I remember catching that touchdown, and everybody just, the crowd's going crazy. And it was in overtime, so we didn't have to kick the field goal. So as soon as I was going in the end zone, guys are rushing the field and everything. And me being a second-year player on that team, with a team loaded with talent, loaded with ability and everything, and Coach White, you know, having enough faith in me and calling my number, you know, in that moment, particular moment of the game, and then me being able to come through and execute and everything. I think that was probably one of the moments that really catapulted me into becoming probably the arena football player I was, and for me to grow and for me to expand and just really, really take off at that point. But I think that was a shining moment for me, is catching that touchdown in the semifinals. And then we went on to win the championship, you know, 2 weeks later, my first Arena Bowl championship, and only my second season with the team. That was probably one of my biggest moments, was that moment right there.
That's awesome. That's such a cool story here, and it's so cool that you got to be a part of arena football history like that, and your name is always going to be remembered, and so that's a cool thing. Was there any particular rivalry or team that you looked forward to facing?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. You know, San Jose. San Jose was like our arch like nemesis, you know, like San Jose, anytime we played San Jose, it was like, you know, here we go. Like I wish we could play those guys 4 or 5 times a year. Like it was just one of those teams and one of those rivalries where we knew that we're gonna have to bring our A game, and they knew they're gonna have to bring their A game. And Arizona had some of the best players in the league offensively and defensively. San Jose had some of the best players in the league offensively and defensively. So that West Coast rival was just something that we always look forward to. And it was a healthy rivalry. Like we all knew each other very well. We were friends, we were boys, but only when we were not on the field. You know, when we were playing those games against each other, we were enemies. And so that was one team that always kind of got me going. Like I always, that was the team where, you know, like, hey, this is the team. And then they got, at one point, they were the best in the league for a while. And so you always want to play against the best. You know, when you can play against the best and you can beat the best and you can have success against the best, then that tells you a lot about who you are individually and also as a team. And so Arizona, having the history that we had and the success we had, you know, those were big moments when San Jose came in for a few years and took a lot of that away from us. And so we were battling and we were fighting, but San Jose was probably the one team the most that I probably got excited to play the most, you know. But there were some other teams out there too. You know, Los Angeles, we'd get up for them. Chicago, we'd get up for them. There was Tampa, of course, Orlando, Florida. They ran the Arena League for a few years. But San Jose, it was something about that San Jose rivalry that just got everything flowing when you knew it was San Jose week, you know.
That's awesome. Yeah, there were quite a few years where San Jose was one of the best teams, and I really followed arena football when it was still active. And I remember San Jose the SaberCats. They were always one of the better teams, if
Oh,
not
yeah.
the best team.
They were always up there, man. Yeah.
So, what markets out of the ones we've announced today do you think that are going to be the most successful? What markets and what brands?
So I'm not sure about, the European teams, just because I've never been to really those places. I don't really know their love for football or any of that. I think it's a great opportunity, but I don't really know, much about the European markets. But I really think that Arizona has been, they've loved arena football for, as long as I can remember, so I think they're going to have a great success. I think Utah is going to be another one. Look who wants to come and hang out.
Hey, hi there.
Can you say hi? What's up with the hair today?
Hi.
Huh? What is up with that afro today? Huh? Somebody just came in to come and talk and say hi. This is Gianna. No, you can't push
Hi,
the button.
Gianna.
Can you say hi to everybody? Say hello. Hi. Hi, everybody. Oh, I know. So, but I really think Arizona, like I said, they've had tremendous success with the Arena Football League. I think that market's going to do great here. I think Utah is just a sports city, sports town.
Most definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
Utah fans are as loyal as they come.
They are, man. And then look at the Utah Blaze. When the Blaze got there, I remember we would go to play in Utah, and it'd be sold out. Very first year. So like I think Utah is going to be a great market as well. Vegas is going to be, I think, it's Las Vegas, and people are always looking for something to do there, But I also think that Cincinnati's they are a football state, okay? And people rarely, because of the Bengals, that's really the only one they have there, But I think Cincinnati is going to be one of those markets also that I think they're going to do very well in Cincinnati as well.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Well, Randy, it was great talking to you. I'll let you get to your family time, but I really enjoyed this conversation and appreciate having you on.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm sure, at some point, hopefully we'll chat again throughout the season, kind of how everything is going.
Most definitely. We'll do a few more streams together.
Wish you guys much success. Anything I can do to help, to talk, or anything, please reach out. But yeah, much success, and I'm looking forward to seeing how everything sort of turns out.
Awesome. Thank you, Randy. You have a good day.
All right. Thanks.